Hey, welcome to Craft Central Designs. My name is Dwynn, and I have this really cute autumn gnome wood sign for you today. My inspiration was the very cute tin gnomes from Dollar Tree and the beautiful gnome autumn ribbon I found at Wal Mart. In this tutorial, I will show you how I created this autumn decor piece. Welcome back to my current subscribers. I appreciate you so much and this platform to share my passion for crafting and creativity. It is my sincere wish that you become inspired by my tutorials. If you are not yet a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. Please give my tutorial a thumbs up and leave your comments. Okay, are you ready to see how I created this gnome sign? Okay then, let's get busy. Okay, let's look at the items that we will need to create this piece. I picked up this wood round at Hobby Lobby. It actually came in a package with 3 different sizes of wood rounds. I purchased it on their 40% off sale that they have every other week. I have here some antiquing wax from Waverly that I'm happy to say they are carrying at Walmart again, all the Waverly products as well as the chalk paint. I picked up these wood leaves. There's 2 different types of wood leaves in the package at Hobby Lobby. All of their items, their autumn items, crafting items as well, are all still 40% off at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to be covering those wood leaves with scrapbook paper that I'm going to apply Mod Podge to those wood leaves to adhere that scrapbook paper. So I have several different types of autumn scrapbook paper. Now I love the idea of mixing all these patterns. I'm sure you're not surprised by that if you follow my channel. That pumpkin color one there, it's actually little tiny little polka dots. And I thought that was a nice color of scrapbook paper, and it adds an extra little pattern or texture. Here's those cute tin gnomes that I've found at Dollar Tree. They actually have several different ones, but these are the 2 I decided on, especially the gnome with the welcome. I thought that was good for to place on the sign. And then I picked up this tin pumpkin at Hobby Lobby. It actually came with a kind of a stake. I guess it was for like sticking in a planter or something. Anyway, I just took the stake off. And here's that fabulous ribbon that I was so inspired to make this piece for. I absolutely love that ribbon. I'm not sure, but I think I might have squealed a little bit when I found it at Walmart. I love it so much. Oh, it's so cute. Okay, so these florals I got in the autumn department at Hobby Lobby. I have a paper plate, a sponge applicator for the Mod Podge application, my hot glue gun, scissors, of course. And also, I picked up this ring of beads. I guess it's a wreath from Dollar Tree. But I love the square beads because they're going to match very well with that Waverly antiquing stain. You'll need a few Jenga blocks, or you could use any little wood pieces that will act as a piece that could elevate those leaves on that sign. I have an X-Acto knife there and a little hook tool from Dollar Tree. These little baby sunflowers I got at Dollar Tree because I'm going to be putting one on the hat of the female gnome. I have some little tiny scissors that are going to come in very handy. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare the leaves. I take a pencil and I trace around the wood leaves. Now, the maple leaves are the same on each side, so you can trace around the leaf on the back side of the paper if you like, but the other one, I would not do that because it's not going to match up when you go to place it on the leaf if you do it on the wrong side. I just went ahead and traced my leaves on the front side of the paper. I just did all of my leaves the same. I use a pencil to trace around my wood leaves. I'm going to generally cut out the shape of that leaf, and then I'm going to cut around all of the lines of that leaf. Now, often I use the technique where you apply the Mod Podge and then you take a file to clean up all the edges, but look at those leaves. There is so many curves and edges, and it just would be a very difficult chore to do that with a file. So I just went ahead and cut them out. It was not difficult. And so I just cut around all of my pencil lines. Don't worry if you end up seeing some of your pencil lines once you cut this out, because we're going to be shading the edges with that antique wax. You'll see how I do that later. Now I'm going to take my Mod Podge with my sponge applicator and put a nice coat of Mod Podge all over the leaf. Be sure you go out to the tips or the points of the leaf and the little stem there, of course. I use 6 leaves, 3 maple and 3 of the other variety of leaf you see there. I just place my scrapbook paper on the wood leaf and just press it down all the way out to the very points and edges of that leaf. I love mixing these scrapbook paper patterns on the leaf. On the sign, which you I'm sure noticed, I was trying to create the look of the gnomes standing in that pile of leaves, which are in fact the wood leaves covered with scrapbook paper. Now, I did put some antiquing wax all over the sign. I'm actually going to be using the back side of this wood round. It does have a bit of a lip, I guess you could call it, going all the way around that, but I'm just finishing up the back side. Doesn't matter if it looks perfect. I just want to finish the piece by putting some of that antiquing wax on the back side as well. I'll also be doing the edges of that sign. Like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to finish the piece. I just use a little cloth and then I wipe off any of the excess. But I like to work in the antiquing wax by just applying a little the motion that you see me doing there. I love Waverly antiquing wax because it is not like regular stain, but it creates the same look as a stain. It washes off of your hand, unlike regular wood stain, and I just love it. Okay, so I have all of my leaves covered. Now, this one I did not finish completely because I want to show you how I did them. Do you notice on the leaf on the right side how it has shading around the edges and all along the lines of in the middle of the leaf? Well, I did that with antiquing wax, which I will show you later. But I'm going to show you now. I wanted to accentuate or delineate the lines inside of that leaf. You do not have to do this step. You could skip it, but I wanted to do it. So I'm going to show you, if you want to do it as well, how I did it. I took an X-Acto knife. It's a very sharp new blade. And I went around and I cut a little slit all the way up and down all of the lines on that leaf. Be careful that your fingers are out of the way because that blade is going to be coming right through that scrapbook paper, so you want to be very careful. This is actually very easy to do, providing you have a sharp blade. Now I've cut all of my lines into my leaf. Now I take that little hook tool that I picked up at Dollar Tree and I just go around and I push through all of the lines. I push that scrapbook paper down in those little crevices. So I'm trying to accentuate those. My dog is drinking again. Oh my gosh, this is the second time this has happened in a voiceover. Oh, good heavens. Oh, this is real life, okay? I can't really stop her from drinking. That's my Labradoodle, Savannah. She always gets thirsty when I do a voiceover. I don't understand it, but it always happens. Okay, back to the lines. I take my little tool and I just push through the lines of that leaf. Now, don't worry if it doesn't look perfect right now, because as you know, if you use scrapbook paper, that the back side of the scrapbook paper is white. You might be able to see little remnants of that in the crevices. But don't worry about it, because when we use the antiquing wax and we do a little bit of shading along those lines, it will just cover all that up. And you will see what I mean by that in a little bit. So along those lines as well, I just took my finger and I dabbed it in some Mod Podge. This as well is going to help to control any little fraying edges of that scrapbook paper. This actually looks really, really nice to do for those. As you can see right through that leaf. Now that I opened up those lines or those definition lines of the veins of that leaf. I have another tool here that I use too. I used to use this little tool for decorating, cake decorating. I used to do a lot of cake design. But anyway, I still use the spatula. I don't do any cake design, but I love that little spatula. So I just as well, if you have any kind of little tool that's like flat like that, and you can as well just, after you put the Mod Podge on, it's a little bit sticky from the Mod Podge, then you can further open up those lines by just pressing that scrapbook paper down inside of those lines. Again, don't worry if it looks a little bit messy, because anything that needs to be corrected will definitely be hidden when you use the antiquing wax with a little paintbrush. I'll show you that later. I did spend, probably the leaves took me the longest to do on this project, but for me, I just thought it was a really nice addition to the piece. Here's that ribbon that I went a little bit crazy for at Wal Mart. Always check this seasonal section at Wal Mart. They have some really great ribbons. As at Christmas time, they have some really nice ones, but like good quality ribbons. So I'm going to make a bow for this piece. Not surprising, I'm sure, to anyone who follows my channel. Everything has to have a bow. But I would say that the tail I cut around 8 inches, and each of those loops I would say is around 8 inches. I just use my fold over loop method, pinch it in the center, catch it with my index finger and my thumb, twist the ribbon so the good side is always up. I have bow tutorials, many of them in fact, and I will put those in the description box if you want to learn to make bows like I do. I created 2 loops on each side with the loops around 8 inches, and then I'm creating 1 loop on each side with a little bit smaller loop, I want to say around 6 inches. I'm going to take a pipe cleaner, put that right down the middle, bring it around the back, twist it, give it a couple of good twists to hold all those loops together in the center there. And it was so great how I just got lucky when I made this bow. That's the gnomes are just sitting so perfectly revealed there on that bow. Oh, I just love that bow. Oh my gosh. So we're just going to create a center loop, fold it under, and we're going to stick the pipe cleaner right down the center and secure that single loop going right down the middle. I call it the button. And twist it around in the back. This is a very nice ribbon. It's a wired ribbon and a very nice quality fabric. Beautiful to work with. They actually had a few different autumn ribbons, of which I picked up a few for projects. I love their seasonal department. They really have nice ribbon for holiday decor. I'm just shaping out my loops there a little bit on my bow. This is going to be glued right to the sign. I'm going to have a little bit of florals around it. Just some subtle florals, nothing too much. And I'm going to angle my tails. I almost always prefer that to dovetailing. And there we have one fabulous gnome bow. Love it. All right, so this bead wreath, I don't know, what are we calling it? Anyway, whatever we're calling it, it's from Dollar Tree. And those little square beads are so perfect for a hanger. They match that antiquing wax perfectly. So I took some twine that I got from Dollar Tree. I put a little bit of tape on the end, flattened it out, stuck it through a really big needle with a big hole, a super big needle. And I like to feed it through there so that I can easily string my beads. And I put the twine on there. I'm not sure at the moment how many beads I used, but I will put that in the description box, okay? So I just can't offhand at this moment remember how many I used. But I just strung all those up, put knots on both ends, and that will be applied to the sign to hang it by. It looks really nice with that antiquing wax. And speaking of antiquing wax, I'm going to be using it right now. I use a paintbrush for this. And what I'm going to be doing is shading all of the edges of the leaf as well as the areas that I opened up to accentuate the veins of the leaf. And there we have the paintbrush. I just use a paper plate for everything, so I just could just easily throw it away. So what I'm going to do is take my paintbrush and tip all of the edges with that antiquing wax. And this creates a really nice effect. See how I just use the tip. When I stick my brush in the antiquing wax, I do blot it off just a bit because I don't want a heavy amount on my leaf. I just want a subtle amount. So I just go around the edges. This creates a really nice effect on the leaves on that sign. I'm going to do all of the perimeter of that leaf, and I'm also going to do all along the openings that I created with that X-Acto knife to define that leaf. See how I go up and down all along the crevices. Now I do take my paintbrush and kind of stick it into the crevices, because remember when I mentioned that about that white underside of that scrapbook paper? Sometimes you can see that a little bit, but also it helps to paint it's actually wood, the wood of the leaf on the inside, so of those crevices. So it's accomplishing a lot just by dabbing on that antiquing wax. So I stick it in there. And there's a leaf that's been done, so you can see the effect that it has. See that the one on the left versus the one that I haven't completed yet? There's a big difference. So I went ahead and I finished that. Okay, here's those adorable gnomes. They're tin. They do have two little holes in the hats. One of the holes I'm going to plug up with a little sunflower. The other three holes, I have been looking for some like little tiny leaves of some kind, like wood or something that would suffice to put on the hat, but I haven't quite found them yet. So what I did for just in the meantime was I took my scrapbook paper and I cut out a few of the leaves. I put a little bit of Mod Podge on them to stiffen them up because they're just paper. And I'm just going to put them on there. It's just temporary until I find what I'm looking for. But it will suffice for now. And that was an easy fix or an easy temporary fix. Now, those Jenga blocks that I suggested that you use for like a little bit of, I guess, like risers, because some of the leaves are going to be up off of the sign and other ones are going to be flat on the sign. And I'm thinking that you would be able to probably see the wood color of those. So I'm thinking if you use the wax to darken them, they'll just be hidden under there. Now, I put down all of my leaves, and you have to make that decision how you want your leaves situated. This is how I wanted mine placed. You could change it up and you could put your bow at 5 o'clock and then put your gnomes on the other side. That's up to you. Now I'm taking my Jenga blocks and I'm deciding which leaves I want elevated off the sign. And I'm just placing them in there. It's a good idea to place everything down the way you want it, just so you can get an idea before you start gluing things down. Now notice how I have my leaves extending past the perimeter of the wood sign. I think this is a fabulous effect. and I absolutely love it. The effect that's created with those leaves coming off the sign like that. Now, once you determine exactly how you're going to put your leaves on, then you can take everything off and start gluing down. I used a combination of hot glue and Aleene's tacky glue here. Remember that these signs are curved. Okay, so it's only around the outer perimeter of these little gnomes that you can actually get them to adhere to a surface. So you could see here that I took the pumpkin and I put Aleene's glue all around the outside. I did the same thing for the gnomes. I did use a little bit of hot glue as well, but I used the Aleene's because it's a tacky glue and it will hold very well. So I glued down my gnomes and my pumpkin. I put my leaves back on. Now I'm going to use some wood glue for gluing down these little blocks. I use Gorilla Wood glue. That's my favorite one. Now I used a combination as well of the wood glue and hot glue. But I made my decision how I was going to place my leaves. So I went between all the veins of the leaf and I put some wood glue there. And that particular one was sitting on a riser or a Jenga block. Now you want to try and situate your leaves, if you're going to do it in the same fashion that I did my sign, around the pumpkin without any big gaps, around the pumpkin or by the gnome's feet. Because you want it to look like the gnome, that both of the gnomes are standing in the leaves. So you don't want any big gaps between those leaves and the gnome's feet or the pumpkin. Now I hot glued my bow down. I put my bow like at 10 or 11 o'clock. I also glued, I used a combination of hot glue and tacky glue to glue my beaded hanger on. You could see that up there. Now I'm going to use some florals, but it's going to be subtle. I'm just going to use a few leaves that I got from Hobby Lobby, a few pine cones, and this little spray. I don't know what you call it, but just a little bit coming out of the sides of the bow. So I place my florals because, again, I like to see how I'm going to place everything before I start gluing. Just a rough idea how I'm going to do it. I use some little tiny of those little tiny white berry sprays, a few little small pine cones. I picked those up at Hobby Lobby as well. They sell them in a bag. I use them a lot for autumn projects and for Christmas as well. I just place everything down the way I think I want it. Add a few leaves. And then I just glue everything down. I just use hot glue. Now, one other thing that I did, I have this moss. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby. It's a little bit of a mossy green color, but I decided to stuff some down around the pumpkin. I thought that was a really cute look. So I took my little spatula and I just shoved that moss down there underneath or behind those leaves. I think it created a really cute effect. And here we have our finished sign. I just love this. I love anything gnome. You'll be seeing gnome projects in the future, I can assure you. Okay, let's look at this one last look. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. I am very close to my first goal of 1,000 subscribers. So please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and leave your comments. Next up, a beautiful autumn door decor piece made from the wire leaf wreath frame from Dollar Tree. Okay, until next time, you all take care.